Not that far. All right, so this is C class, and we are reading, we're on page 76. And he is at the central station. He's putting his steamboat back together. And you keep hearing information about Kurtz. So let me read at the bottom of 676. The smell of mud, the primeval mud by Jove, was in my nostrils. The high stillness of primeval forest was before my eyes, and there were shiny patches in the black creek. The moon had spread over everything, a thin layer of silver over the rank grass, over the mud, over the wall of matted vegetation standing higher than the wall of a temple. Over the great river, I could see through a somber gap glittering, as it flowed broadly by without a humor. All this was great, expectant, mute, while the man jabbered about himself. I wondered whether the stillness on the face of the immensity, looking at us two, were meant as an appeal or as a menace. What were we who had strayed in here? Could we handle I think this question, look at question number 12. Right, this is the quote that it asked you to analyze. He said, I wonder if we could handle that dumb thing, or would it handle us? I felt how big, how confoundedly big was that thing that couldn't talk and perhaps was deaf as well. What was in there? I could see a little ivory coming out of the river. I'd heard of Mr. Kurtz was in there. I had heard enough about it too, God knows. Yet somehow it didn't bring any image with it, no more than if I had been told an angel or fiend was in there. I believed it was the same way out of you. I believed it in the same way one of you might believe there are inhabitants of planet Mars. Let's pause just a minute. Look at the question. What does he mean when he says, talk about the jungle, the wilderness? Could we handle that dumb thing? Dumb meaning probably can't speak, not intelligent. Or would it handle us? It felt how big, how confoundedly big was that thing that couldn't talk, perhaps was deaf as well. What is he saying about the wilderness, the darkness, the jungle? It's big. What does he mean? Can we handle it? It can't talk. Or would it handle us?
Could we conquer it?
Good. Or would it conquer us? And remember the jungle is just a metaphor for the darkness, which is the moral darkness or evil or whatever you end up wanting to call it. I knew once a Scotch sailmaker who was certain dead sure there were people in Mars. If you asked him for some idea how they looked and behaved, he would get shy and mutter something about walking on all fours. If you as much as smiled, he would, though a man of 60, offer to fight you. I would not have gone so far as to fight for Kurtz, but I went for him near enough to Allah. Now this is important, underline this. It doesn't even ask you this question, but I want you to note it. I hate, detest, and can't bear Allah. Not because I'm straighter than the rest of us, but simply it appalls me. There's a faint taste of death, a flavor of mortality in lies, which is exactly what I hate and detest in the world. What I want to forget, it makes me miserable and sick, like biting something rotten would do. Why does he hate lies? Why does he hate falsehood? What does he say lies make him think of?
Death. Or like rotten fruit.
I like what you said first, and the rotten fruit is just a part of the death. Why would a lie be like death? How are those two connected? They seem like two completely incomparable things. You can't compare them. But he does, and I think he's making a good point.
So like death is like death is usually seen as like a bad thing. Like
Yes?
it's usually seen more of like an evil kind of way,
Mhm.
And like lies are obviously bad,
Mhm.
and they can like
literally death happens because of sin, of evil. Death wouldn't be here if there hadn't been evil. So death is a byproduct of evil itself, so a punishment for it. I think that's a good answer. So if you want to write something like this, it doesn't ask you, so maybe just write it in the margin. Think about all the imagery that comes with, say, when Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. I'm the light of the world. So goodness, even biblical goodness, is described as light and life, whereas anything evil speaks of death. And you know, we've talked about the abortion thing. To me, that's a great example how some people would fight a war over it, for death. They would defend death. They are about, that's like their most important thing, is something that it is completely about death. And as Christians, in every case, we're about life. And anyway, I just think I think he's really onto something. I don't know if this guy's a believer. You can read a book like this, and it never mentions Jesus or God. And yet we talk about it all the time because we have biblical worldviews, and we can see in a book like this, he's right. I like the book, not because he doesn't mention God, but because he talks about what's wrong. He's got it. He nailed it. This is what's wrong, is darkness. To continue, temperament, I suppose. Well, I went near enough to it by letting the young fool there believe anything he liked to imagine in my influence in Europe. I became in an instant as much of a pretense as the rest of the bewitched pilgrims. This simply because I had a notion it somehow would be of help to that Kurtz, whom at the time I did not see, you understand. He was just a word for me. I did not see the man in the name any more than you do. Do you see him? Do you see the story? Do you see anything? It seems to me I am trying to tell you a dream. Making a vain attempt because no relation of a dream can convey the dream sensation, that commingling of absurdity, surprise, and bewilderment in a tremor, a struggling revolt, that notion of being captured by the incredible, which is of the very essence of dreams. This is important. Notice the next sentence. He was silent for a while. Who said that? Who made that? Who said? You know, every story has to have a narrator. Who's? This story has two narrators.
Marlowe?
That is not Marlowe because it's not in quotations.
Joseph Conrad.
Yes, but the other guy on the boat. You know, there are 5 guys on the Nellie at the beginning. Conrad's not even named, but that's what we're calling him. The only one named is Marlowe. So Conrad interjects now into the story that Marlowe is telling us. He was silent for a while. Isabella, do you mind?
So do I start it? He was silent for a while?
I'm trying to find. He was, yes, and then read a little bit.
He was silent for a while. No, it isn't possible. It is impossible to convey the entire sensation in a given meaning. There's this that which makes its truth its meaning, its subtle and penetrating essence. It is impossible to live as we dream.
Again, no quotation marks you can read.
Paused again as if the pen added. Of course, unless you fellows see more than I have done. You see me, whom you know. It had become so pitch dark that we listeners could hardly see one another. For a long time already, we sitting apart had been no more to us than voice. There was not a word from anyone. The others might have been asleep, but I was awake. I listened on the watch for the symptoms of the Lord. It would give me a clue to the faint uneasiness inspired by the stereo that seemed to shape itself about the mountains in the heavy night air of the night.
And that is Conrad as well. So the river now, and sometimes you forget which river they're on. There are 2 rivers. So this is the Thames, whereas Marlowe is he's not on the river. He's preparing to get back on the river. Would you like to read, Sierra?
Oh, sure. Yes, I let him run on, Marlowe began again, and think what he pleased about the powers that were behind me. I did. And there was nothing behind me. There was nothing but that wretched old mangled steamboat I was leaning against, while he talked fluently about the necessity for every man to get on. And when no one and when one comes out here, you can see that it is not to gaze at the moon. Mr. Kurtz was a universal genius.
That, circle that, or highlight it. But even a genius?
But even a genius would find it easier to work with adequate tools, intelligent men. He did not make bricks. Why, there was a physical impossibility in the way, as I was well aware. And if he did secretarial work for the manager, it was because no sensible man rejects
Wantonly.
the confidence of his superiors. Did I see it? I saw it. What more did I want? What I really wanted was rivets, by heaven, rivets. To get on with the work, to stop the hole. Rivets I wanted. There were cases of them down at the coast, cases piled up, burst, split. You kicked a loose rivet at every second step in that station yard on the hillside. Rivets had rolled into the grove of death. You could fill your pockets with rivets for the trouble of stooping down, and there wasn't one rivet to be found where it was wanted. We had plates that would do it, but nothing to fasten them with. And every week the messenger, a lone Negro, letter bag on shoulder and staff in hand, left our station for the coast. And several times a week and coast a caravan came in with the trade goods. Ghastly glazed calico that made you shudder only to look at it. Glass beads valued at a penny a cord. Confounded, spotted cotton handkerchiefs, and no rivets. 3 carriers could have brought all that was wanted to set that steamboat afloat.
Okay, look at question number 13, we've answered. For what was Marlowe waiting, what was he waiting for? That's what he's trying
Why? Oh, wait.
to repair the ship. It's the only thing he needs to patch the hole of the ship, which had a hole in the bottom of it. What did he need?
Rivets.
What, do you know what rivets are? You ever heard of rivets, Isabella? They're not nails. I don't know how to describe them. I had somebody in another class, but you don't hammer them in. Well, you do kind of hammer them in. They're not screws either, but they're little. There would be nails without a point to them, like flat nails, but they're a little wider. More like bolts, but they don't screw. The only way to get it, and I think they're literally called riveters. And you take this machine and it pounds the rivet. And what ships have these plates, these metal plates that you have to put together. That's what he's got. And so you put them together with rivets. And he doesn't have rivets. Just think how small a rivet is. You and I it would be useless to us. We have nothing that rivets could help us. That's all he needs to help him. All he needs is rivets. He can get it. He can start working. But he says the rivets aren't where they should be. They're down on the coast. But the need is up here. What does that tell us about another symbol of imperialism?
They don't need to civilize other countries, they need to civilize their own.
Well, in what way? That's interesting.
Could it be like, there's like spending so much money they're spending so much time going to like other countries and trying to conquer them and like civilize them to like show other countries that they're part of, like that they have power too, but really their own country is struggling.
Right, and in this case, what are they struggling with?
In this rivets, we're getting rivets.
Yeah, and I think the general word I think would be inefficiency or ineffectiveness. They have the equipment, they have the people to do the equipment. They just can't get the equipment to the people who can use it. They have the tools, they have the people who know how to use the tools. They just can't get the tools to the people. That's, by the way, that's the problem America's having right now. We call it supply shortage. Have you heard about this?
Our blueberries.
Do you guys go to the store ever?
Yeah.
Did you notice the shelves?
Everything.
That's kind of scary because I can live without rivets, but neither you or I can live without food. And that would be, we've never had a food shortage in America.
Yeah, there was a shortage on potatoes.
What's that?
There was a shortage on potato during like homecoming.
Really? Already?
Yeah, or not, maybe not homecoming, it was during like exams that
Well,
we're talking about.
I was the one who
Fries
pointed that
anymore.
out.
Do you know what has caused the shortage?
War. Taxes. I don't know.
Well, I'll give you what's happening right off the coast of California, with these ports where we import things. The ships with the stuff on them are in the harbor, and there's not enough people or truck drivers
Workers.
to get it
That's what
off,
is, it's workers.
to get it off the ships, onto a truck, and driven to the stores.
Can I just remember when a ship got like stuck in that canal or something and they
Yes, I remember that.
Oh my goodness.
It stayed there for like a month.
Remember everyone was like worried no one would have Christmas presents?
Yeah.
Yes,
All
In, like,
like Amazon packages were in the middle of the sea.
that's exactly what they're talking about. So, you even said an interesting thing. You said that's an example of a poor civilization. If you can't get the stuff to the people that need it, they call that
We're
logistics.
living in the Gilded Age. This is the third industrial revolution.
Actually, you could probably say that.
2020s is the third industrial
Well,
revolution.
maybe that's something in this
Elon
book.
Musk.
That would, by the way, did you see, you know who Elon Musk took to the gala, the Met
His
Gala?
mom.
His mother,
He took his mom.
who used to be a,
Was she like in apartheid? Like, she was like a part of it.
I don't know about that, but she used to be a supermodel.
She looks like
She's,
a villain. Like,
well, she does, I agree, looked like, my wife said she looked like a witch.
Yeah.
Um,
All of it.
but it was just the way she was dressed and her hair and everything, but she used to be a supermodel. He took her, is he married, you know?
No.
Wait,
Yeah, let's
she,
go back.
was she the one that was wearing the huge hat? Oh.
She was wearing like a red jacket. Someone was wearing a
Did you hear what I said, ladies? An eligible bachelor?
Oh, when I turn 18,
Just keep that in mind.
he's gonna see me and be like,
I
wow.
mean, if he was with Grimes.
He's
then-
rich, who cares?
He's the richest man in
He's
the
the
world.
richest man ever.
You
okay?
got a problem with marrying the richest man in the world, Isabel?
If he looks like Elon Musk, yeah.
If he
Could you
loves
put up with that, being a
Actually, wait. I
multi-billionaire?
could. I would put up
Yeah.
with it.
Trillionaire?
Yeah.
You would get it together long enough, yeah, I could.
I would fake it.
For the money.
For the money.
Wonder what his nickname is, 'cause that's an odd
Musty.
name. Elon.
Musty. He was probably called Musty when he was a child.
Did you know it's a biblical name?
Elon?
Yes. Do you know where in the Bible it is?
Isn't it like a prophet?
You're close.
Is it a town?
It,
Where a prophet
it
was?
may have been, but it's a name. The 12 judges in the book of Judges,
Oh,
one of those, all it says, Elon, it doesn't say what he did, it's like he gets one sentence. I don't even know that's why they named it.
It's like he's a judge for people.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's a ruler, a leader of some kind.
Elon actually never died in the Bible. It's still.
He
That's
is-
why he's rich, because he's just lived all these years. He's been able to understand how the world worked.
Yes.
He's been able.
He's collected all the money from.
He knows.
thousands of
He
years.
knows.
I personally think we should try to get Elon together with Sydney.
Sydney
Yeah.
Sweeney?
Sydney Sweet.
Oh, Sydney! Sydney, I
Sydney.
thought you were talking about the actor, Sydney Sweeney. She was the Met Gala too.
Not that Sydney, the other
The
Sydney.
other Sydney. Sydney can bring back all the
Sydney
wealth.
is actually
to
Elon
us.
Musk's little brother. You guys know that?
I
He's
know.
like adopted.
What?
Sydney's actually like Elon Musk's little brother.
He has a little brother?
He is Elon Musk.
He's
Oh.
like adopted. It's like a
I
secret.
thought Sydney was a
It was
girl.
No.
No, Sydney's a guy. He's the only guy in his class.
And he needs to get
It's like a
money.
secret though. He's like an adopted brother, and he told me not to tell anyone,
Huh.
but I'm letting him know.
I thought he was a girl, see? That's what I get for never seeing him, never coming to class.
It's his own fault.
It
If
is.
he showed up, we would know.
He's too busy on his little private yacht.
Why does he need to come to school now?
He's
He's got a
rich
yacht.
already.
All right, I'm gonna skip to the next paragraph, which Isabella's gonna read. He was becoming, I think I left out a little bit, but we got the idea, rivets, that's an important detail. And then we're starting to, he was becoming confidential. Now, this whole conversation is between him and the brick maker, I believe.
So do I start with he was becoming, or do I say
Yes,
that?
yes.
Okay. He was becoming confidential now. I fancy my own responsibility changed his manner, became very cold, and suddenly began to talk about the hippopotamus. Whether sleeping on board the steamer, I stuck to my salvage night and day. I wasn't disturbed. There was an old hippo that had the bad habit of getting out on the bank and roaming at night over the station grounds. The pilgrims used to turn out in a body and empty every rifle they could lay hands on at him.
Not the hippo.
Some even had sat up nights for him. All this energy we wasted though. That animal has a charmed life, he said. But you can say, yeah, right, exactly. You can say there's only fruits in this country. No man would apprehend me. No man here bears a charmed life. He stood there for a moment in the moonlight with his delicate hooked nose set a little askew and his mica eyes glittering without a wink. Then, with a curt good night, he strode off. I could see he was disturbed and considerably puzzled, which made me feel more hopeful than I had been for days. It wasn't a great comfort to turn from that chap to my influential friend, the battered, twisted, ruined tin pot steamboat. I clambered on board. Tin pot steamboat. I clambered on board. She rang under my feet like an empty, complete empalmed biscuit tin kicked along the gutter. She was empty, so solid and naked, rather less pretty in shape. I had expended enough hard work on her to make me love her. No influential friends would have served me better. She had given me a chance to come out of it, to find out what I could do. No, I don't like work. I had rather laze about and think of all the fine things that could be done. I don't like work. No man does. I like what is in the work. The chance to find yourself, your own reality, for yourself, not for others. What no other man can ever know. They can only see the mere show, and never can tell what it really means.
Thank you. Last question we'll get to. Why does he like work?
Learn about yourself.
Yes. And it's not the work, it's what you learn about yourself. I really like that. This is part of this book is about accomplishing things, even if it's minor things. I told you about, did we talk about making beds up?
Yes.
That Navy SEAL, he started his speech by saying, make your bed up first thing, because then you've accomplished something. You've already worked, and you've accomplished something. So it's like a symbol. If I do this, I've already achieved something. All right, good job. I'll send this into the internet.